Hello, my name is Jayson Elliott. I'm the CEO of Cryptic Pacific Minerals and the founder of Real Earth Elements cryptocurrency project. I'm a crypto enthusiast, a Bitcoin miner, I'm an attorney and a technologist, and above all, I'm an entrepreneur. The REE team and I have started with two goals. The first was to develop a cryptocurrency project that had real underlying value. The second was to mesh the funding and the profit sharing of a real-world enterprise into a hybrid cryptocurrency platform. The culmination of these two goals resulted in the creation of what we refer to as enterprise-backed dividend tokens. This video will answer most of your questions about the Real Earth Elements tokenization project and the underlying mining company. The AMA addresses everything from mining operations to how we are addressing ecological concerns, pursuing positive relationships with the people and the environment around us. We discuss tokenomics of the enterprise-backed dividend tokens in detail, token staking, and the specifics of how to earn passive income through dividend payments. If you're looking for any information that isn't covered in this video, we have a whole team that would love to chat with you and answer your questions. If you have business inquiries, please reach out via our website, Twitter, or join our Telegram group. You'll find the links to all of these in the description. We would love to answer any questions you have. Enjoy the video.
I'll start with your market cap question because I'm going to. So the market cap of the REE token is very different. It's somewhere between a traditional market cap and a crypto market cap. Where the crypto market cap, you just look at the total number of tokens, unless you're somebody like Celsius who had unlimited tokens, and you divide. But we're not releasing, like Sim said, 70% of the tokens are only for the future. They're only for if we release some of those tokens. In releasing them, we're bringing value to the company. So we're not devaluing the current tokens. We're buying a mine, we're buying equipment and increasing production, we're expanding a plant, we're doing something that brings value. Otherwise, they don't get released. They don't get put into the system. It's actually very similar to the traditional market where when a company's holding their stocks but they're not released into the market, we don't count them towards market cap. They're just an asset on the books behind the scenes. Nobody even really knows they exist except for the secretary of the company. So it's very similar to the traditional markets where there's something we can sell if we need to raise money, but we don't we're not accessing it unless that need arises and it's an opportunity. More equipment, maybe another company that's a smaller company that we're acquiring, things that increase the value of, either increase or at least maintain the value of the current tokens. We wouldn't make an investment that devalues the current tokenization. And she wants you to use that. So it's the value of the 70% would be what at the current token price. So we would release based on what the current token price was. At the point that would happen, we would probably be on an exchange, and we would simply release them that way, first privately and then openly on an exchange.
And also there's a system built in to buy tokens off of the markets as well, right? So there's actually going to be tokens that are going to be taken off the markets that increase the price, and then we issue tokens that levels it off, and then we burn tokens and issue tokens. Right?
Yeah, there's actually two systems. One is we've locked 5% of the tokens for just simply buying back from the market. So the dividends received by that 5%, which can never enter the market. So of the 30%, 5 of them are never entering the market. The company is collecting that dividend and using it to buy back REE tokens to the company to help price stability, but not automatically. It's strategically buying back those tokens. The other way is when we pay dividends, those dividends are paid in cash. We're not taking the other REE tokens and saying, here's more, they have a value, and pretending like every other crypto company. It's actually cash entering the market. Your dividends are dollar-based. You then can purchase more REE tokens based on the value of the REE token at that time. If the REE token's at $10 and you have 100 payment tokens, you can buy 10 more REE tokens.
And if somebody tries to come in and dump the price of the tokens, we have cash available to buy the tokens off the markets. Because if you make them too cheap, and I can calculate, hey, this is how many assets underneath, but somebody's trying to bring the price down here, we will go in and buy the tokens using the capital that we have.
And that's exactly what this is meant for. This is an AMA. Jump in with questions.
So Sim has mentioned in the past that when this goes live, it will be on a private exchange.
It won't be on a private exchange for legal reasons. It's actually not an exchange. It's a bulletin board.
Okay.
When we release it, if Rob wants to sell tokens, he can say, I've got 100 tokens for sale. And somebody else can say, oh, I want to buy them, and you agree on a price. And then it's automatic from there, but it's a bulletin board system.
Which controls the price.
No, you guys, you too, but it's not a maker taker exchange, but you have to agree on the price.
Yeah, the price doesn't fluctuate in that system. The price is calculated from the value that's underneath.
No, they can.
Yeah, you guys can determine your price.
You agree on your own price, and when you both agree, it all happens automatically.
But it doesn't change the price for everybody else, right? That's how the ecosystem is protected to make. It's an OTC.
It's
exactly.
an OTC
Yeah.
until we move to the next step of developing. Because the tokenomics here are different than your regular ERC20 token, we're going to develop our own back-end exchange, but that's the next step.
So what is it that causes prices to fluctuate up or down? Is this
Buyers
still
and sellers.
Okay, so it isn't like, a rumor of this happening, the price just
Sure. It's like any other.
Wait, let me explain that, because I know what you're asking. The price does not fluctuate freely on that OTC bulletin board, let's say, right? In the initial ecosystem, the price is going to be calculated from what the token is being issued at by us, right? So somebody could try to come up with something and try to mess with the token. That price doesn't change. Once we go into the public markets, we're on Coinbase and we're on all these other exchanges, then the price will fluctuate freely up and down. But we have cash sitting, so if somebody tries to dump the price too low and we know, hey, it's undervalued right now, we're going to pump that cash into the markets and buy the tokens off of the markets. And then we have more tokens that we can issue again for more mines that are coming up. I hope that answers your question.
And there's a lot more mechanisms built into this because we've learned from everybody else's mistakes. We've got the staking function, which obviously takes a lot of, if you want to be paid dividends, you have to stake, and therefore it takes a lot of the available tokens off the market, even if there is a rush. And in the dividend payment system, you only earn a percentage of the dividends if you're not staking at the full level, and all of that money is used to the extra money, the understaked or unstaked is all used to create more liquidity. We should have more liquidity than basically anything except for Ethereum and Bitcoin after a few years, because we're putting real money in here for liquidity.
And liquidity means buying tokens. For those people who are not, it doesn't mean water.
Yeah, I think we have a screenshot. You might be able to. Do you have the screenshot, the staking screenshot? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that one. You only have that one. Well, so when you stake, you can decide if you want to stake for 3 months, 6 months, a year. And then you also obviously can decide how much you want to stake. There's staking levels, and there's also staking length. And for increasing of either of those, the percentage of your dividend payment increases. And that's locked. There's no. It's a lot like other current projects we're familiar with. It's once it's in there, it's locked for that period. There's no fee for pulling it out. It's in there for the duration. It's a little bit different. Once you stake it, it will automatically renew unless you unselect the renew button. So if you decide you want to stake for 3 months and you don't want to unstake it, it'll just keep renewing because we had to pick either automatically or not automatically. People will get pissed if it unstakes and they didn't mean to, or if it restakes. So we decided probably automatically. Yeah, those are the different levels. So yeah, again, I don't know if you can, obviously you guys can't see it out there, but maybe on the camera they could zoom in. This is a 6-month stake of 12,000 RE. It's on the test network, so it's not live, but it's we can pass this around too for people to look at.
So the other thing to remember with this is, this is a real business. Our goal is to make sure the business itself is kept stable and safe, and our investors are protected, right? Because along the way, what ends up happening, especially in these stages, is as the institutions come in and you got your tokens at 38 cents and now the token's at whatever price, they'll be happy to buy it off of you because they know that because you've taken the initial risk, they'll be happy to kind of de-risk you and buy it off of you, right? But even in that process, we want to make sure that, the people that come in are interested in the value that's in the token, the community, and the real change that's being created, not just there to pump and dump the token itself, right? So there's going to be a lot done to make sure that we only bring the right partners on, because money is not the problem. The right money and picking the right hearts is the biggest thing, and it's the hardest part, especially because when you have investors, we're getting in bed together for the rest of our life, right? So let's make sure we bring the right people into bed. And I like having you guys in bed. It's really nice.
There is one other thing that's on the buyback system that doesn't exist in other cryptos. You have a company behind this, the mining company, that does have an interest at a certain point in time in the future in potentially buying these back, just like real world companies have an interest in buying their stocks back. So you've got a company that, like any other Google or any other company, that we're going to have an interest in buying some of these back down the road and having less on the market, depending on at what stage we are in the company development.
Got it. So if I've understood correctly, Jayson, we've got a real world mining operation that is currently operating.
Correct.
And it is producing copper and selling that copper to, I believe it was the local market.
We're selling to 2 different entities locally, the copper ore currently.
Right, the copper ore. And so you guys aren't involved in the processing of that copper. It's literally just the raw ore,
correct,
which then goes to processing.
Correct.
And currently that all happens intra-country in Chile at the moment.
That's correct, in Chile, yes. Right.
And those mining operations are owned by who?
Those mining operations are currently owned by a subsidiary of the U.S. mining company, as will all the mining operations. And Sim said we're going to the Philippines to meet with people, but we've actually been talking to these people since before COVID started. We weren't able to move forward because the Philippines was locked down tighter than most countries. Sure. So we've been talking to these local people now Anthony's been talking to some of them for 4 years. So we're just waiting this is the first time we're both here, we're able to go, we're able to close the deal, but we've had our eyes on the specific mines there for a long time.
Right, and who owns the parent company, if you will? Like, is that currently a publicly traded one, or is that one?
No, it's a private company currently owned by the 4 founders of REE.
Right, okay, and that includes you.
It's primarily me.
Right. Actually, it was if Jayson and them funded all of this before themselves with their own money the whole time.
I was actually running the Chile operation.
Yes.
And we came up with the idea for a enterprise-backed token for another company, where a client of mine had come to me and asked me if is there a way for us to raise money in crypto for this? Right. And Anthony and I worked on the idea for them. Mm-hmm. And then we thought, well, if we're going to do it, we should. And they also had some title problems, some other issues. Yeah. So we said we should just bring this in-house. We can control everything and make sure this is a success.
Right. Okay. All right. So the parent company then will own subsidiary companies or collaborations in various opportunities or markets as you identify them that fits within your parameters. And the profits that stream from each of those entities, this is what we're talking about today, is like literally the tokenization and the staking and how the profits stream.
So those profits stream primarily up to the U.S. company. That company is the one that is working with the tokenization.
Got it.
In the Bahamas, they call each token launch is basically a project is the terminology.
Yep.
So REE is a project being kind of co-managed by the mining company, which really isn't managing the project. They're just providing the profit dividends, and the Bahamas company that is actually managing the project,
Right.
and which we're representing here today.
Right. So presumably in the future, then you will have operations in various countries, and that profit will flow to the central, will head
Correct.
back to the central
Correct.
company, and that's where the tokenomics and the distribution, all of that occurs from that. So right now, the opportunity is copper in Chile. Potentially, there's going to be something in Philippines,
The
which you guys are developing,
iron and copper in the
so on.
Philippines.
And so with the REE token, we have access potentially to all of the upside.
Correct.
Within each
Actually,
strain.
one thing Sim said earlier about the Indonesian government was you can invest in this mine. In REE, you're not investing in the mine. You're investing in the company. You're investing in the enterprise.
that was
So
the
if we
point I wanted.
discover, I don't know, rhodium in Mexico
Got it.
or Arizona,
Yes.
it's part of the enterprise.
Got it. Yeah, that's what I meant. And then more on specifically on the mining operation, we talked about obviously the traditional mining practices have been extremely toxic and not very good for the local economy or the earth or the community. So how are you guys, like on a practical level, how are you actually doing things differently?
So a lot of this is all of this really is because of bad actors in the past.
Clear.
Nothing in Sonora, Mexico. You've got some of the worst pollution in the world because of one of the biggest mountains of copper that has been torn down. But it's not because they processed the copper on site. It's because they let everything just kind of go into the water system. And then the government got involved, and this has happened in almost every country in the world. It just keeps happening because of bad actors.
Yes.
What we're doing now currently has no pollution at all because we're selling raw ore. The iron mines, we're going to be selling processed ore, but it's processed by crushing and removing the iron with big magnets and shipping it. So
right now,
there's no chemicals involved in what we're doing now.
and it's processed under regulations under the Chilean government, who is very stringent about making sure that they don't pollute their own country. Right?
Chile's
Now, you mean now they are, but they weren't in the past.
Obviously they've gotten more strict over time, but they're still bad actors.
Sure.
Especially, if you haven't been in the Andes, you can get lost real quick. So up in the middle of nowhere, of course, there's bad actors. There's people
Yeah.
not
that's-
buying the right equipment, not using the right processing, and it's going to keep happening over and over again.
That's why we are going to set up processing plants on site, process it ourselves, increase the value of the ore 50 times, sell it for 50 times the price while making sure that there's no pollution happening on the ground.
So you would then become miners and processors. That's the bigger picture.
Yeah, the goal with
Right.
copper in all locations is to process it ourselves.
Clear.
I'm familiar with the processing on both sides because
Understood.
there's two different kinds of copper.
Yes.
But it's actually not hard not to pollute anymore. You buy plants that are pre-made. It's just people that aren't investing enough money and time into making sure they're not polluting, because a lot of times they can't afford it.
Right. So I think what I understand, there's a two-tier safety system. One is, it's a little bit like Indonesia. People come to Indonesia and say there's no rules and regulations. They're actually all there. They just don't get applied. They don't get applied.
Exactly.
So you'll have an internal audit system, making sure all the checks and balances around pollution and milestones are being met in terms of safety and environment. And then there is a government oversight aspect to that as well?
There's two government oversight aspects in Chile. Every country obviously is very different.
Clear.
When I said people are lost in the mountains, they're lost in the mountains. The government doesn't know they're mining there.
Understand. Yeah.
So there is even a system in place to sell. You have to show where you're mining, but there's a lot of malfeasance going on in this.
Clear.
We're mining here when you're actually mining there.
Yeah.
So it's the Chile's, they show up to our mine once a month.
They come in, they look at what we're doing once a month. It's very normal, but they have to know where you are in order to do that. You have to have registered. So the people that are not obeying the rules, they're hiding. Or they're big companies who think they can buy their way out.
Right. And you're finding that less and less because, that was, as you said, that was the old.
Yeah. After Barrick got shut down and lost billions of dollars in Chile, we're finding that less and less.
Right. That's the question. Okay. So the landscape is moving and the desire and the regulatory,
and Chile's a lot different than a lot of the places I've done business because the people there are very, very ecologically knowledgeable. There's north of me, somebody built a plant like about 2 kilometers from the ocean, and the local people had it shut down because they didn't like that idea. Even though it was built correctly, it was too close to the ocean.
One of the things that we were talking about was the use of chemicals. And one of the things that Sim talked about was the use of the chemicals till they're exhausted in the process. Is that correct representation? And the second thing is what actually then happens with the spent chemicals because they're still not,
So what when we're talking about the pollution, that's chemicals. It's post-processing chemicals.
Clear.
When we have plants and we're processing chemicals, we're buying new plants. We're not using old cement plants with cracks in them, and we're buying new plants that are made out of mostly metals and they're above ground, not in ground, and the chemicals are reconstituted, processed, and then shipped to proper storage or disposal.
Right. The big issue, is worldwide, is waste management, and so the truck drives down the road here, and then he dumps it in the river. I'm not talking about chemicals.
Correct.
So
in Chile,
that was my question.
In Chile, the waste management is government run.
Right. Okay.
So they're making sure that it's done properly. You're paying that.
That's my question. Yeah. So the truck leaves with 10,000 liters of spent chemical, and the belief is that
they're not
they're
dumping
going to
in the
go to
ocean.
the government facility and get okay.
Correct.
All right, that's the question. Okay.
Yeah, we're not to that point yet, so we haven't followed the trucks to make sure, but we may.
Okay. Got it. All right.
I'll have Anthony.
Cool.
I'll have Anthony do it. Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's do it.
But we have to follow sometimes we have to follow the delivery trucks to make sure they get where they're going. Yeah.
So I have 2 questions actually.
Okay.
So the first one, just coming back to what you mentioned earlier about not owning the mines. I'm a bit confused about that. Can you just clarify?
Sim was referring not to this project. He was referring to speaking with the Indonesian government about government-owned mines. That was not.
Well, this system, see, owning the mining operation can be separated from owning the land.
Yes.
Right? We are happy to let the locals own the land, as long as we own the operation and we can make sure that the system is run properly, right? So that's kind of, because when we're coming here, if we say we want to buy the mountains and we want to do this stuff, there's resistance. But if we say we're going to partner with local players in this space, and you will own the mine, own the land of the mine, we will own the mining operation, and we collaborate. Or you can run the mining operation, but you got to meet these kind of stringent ethos that we have of what we want done the right way. Right, so there's flexibility in the system itself. Can we get this young man a mic?
Or the land is owned by traditional tribes or traditional indigenous peoples who do not want to see neocolonialism in their own backyard.
Sure. Thank you. So that's clear. So my second question is about, if I understand, you're pairing an equity or shares to a token. So
we're comparing or pairing?
Pairing. There's some link.
So what we've done here is use the blockchain crypto world to create a non-equity token that gives you no ownership, no equity, but gives you a right to income, to dividends, to share the profits.
But is it on a royalty based or
On a
what's
dividend
the-
basis.
So I just want to give a little bit of a so when shares have three rights to them, they have governance rights, ownership rights, and dividend rights. In this case, the governance is going to stay with people who are smarter than us about mining. The ownership is going to stay in a structure to make sure nobody tries to take over the operation. The token gives you access to the dividends forever.
But these, in a legal term, the stake and rewards are not US based dividends. So legally, what kind of income would that be?
Okay, so the dividends are paid out in a secondary non-tradable token. What we mean by non-tradable is you can't take that token to Uniswap or Binance or Coinbase and sell it. We've made it so that token can only be exchanged within our environment. So you can exchange it currently it's based on and pegged to the US dollar via one of the USDT, USDC. We can move around if there's problems with one of them. We can even move to a different crypto. But it's pegged to the dollar ultimately, but through a couple stages. That token then initially will only be tradable for more REE tokens. Eventually, it will be tradable for USDC, other dividend-backed enterprise tokens as people are coming to us looking for the same idea for non-mining and other mining enterprises.
I'm still a little bit fuzzy about your relationship with the land/mine owners and what benefit you are providing them compared to what they're doing now and what they are getting out of the collaboration.
So,
Well, they can't afford mines. They can't afford processing plants. Many of them went bankrupt. Like the mines that we're looking at are mines that already went bankrupt because they couldn't afford it. So we're coming in and saying, okay, we'll do all of that with you and within a collaboration.
So I think there's that question to me could have meant a couple of things. So I'll just kind of give a little history and then you can clarify. In Chile, all of our mines are either owned or in the process of being owned through legal process. There's been a lot of even large companies that during COVID, a couple of very large companies went out of business or bankrupt. They don't exist anymore, and their land is there. They're good mines, they're proven mines. We can go in and see what's there, but they are gone. So we're in the process of claiming a lot of their land right now. Other mines I've paid cash for, my cash out of my pocket, and we're operating those. So there's not community-owned land in Chile that we're dealing with. There is, however, and what Anthony was talking about a few minutes ago, is in the Philippines, the land is owned by the local tribes. What they're getting out of it is they're getting out that we are coming in and helping them to monetize a natural resource that they can't afford to even start. They can't even fix the road. We're hiring locals, giving some jobs. Obviously, we have to bring in professionals in mining. You have to have geologists. You have to have, people that understand. You can't just mine. But for the non-educated jobs, we're hiring locals.
And we'll reforest the land after we leave, and we'll dig you wells if we want. If we have excess solar power, we'll give it to you. We will use, there's a donation model built in to do other initiatives that may be important to them.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was basically wondering what's in it for them, and you've answered that very well.
Basically, we're renting the mine from them, and they're experiencing a portion of the profits.
And you're helping the economy in that particular area.
Correct.
All right.
And the way they manage it, it is a community, so we're dealing with the head of the community. We are dealing with communities in Chile, but it's not this sort of it's simplified and complicated. The communities a lot of times are very simple communities, even more so than the Philippines, and they're up in the mountains, but they own the access roads. So we have to provide them with incentives to allow us to use those access roads. And a lot of time what those are in northern Chile, there's been drought for, depending on the area, between 10 and 13 years. The main thing they want is hay. you give them a bale of hay and they start to cry, and wells. So they only have surface wells. So we're trying to put in deeper wells so they can have access to water all year. And that's, again, it's for access to the roads. No, the hay is in northern Chile. No, the people are not eating the hay. I don't think. We don't actually monitor that, but it's for mostly their goat herding and other animals.
Two general areas. One, I'm just curious on the more, let's say, the social aspect. So you've come into an area, you've identified, through geology and history and looking at prior records of large companies, and that there's still value there. What happens in terms of? Do you have like local teams that go into these areas and then have meetings, let's say, with the local tribesmen and landowners and ask them, what do you need help with? What is it that you need help with?
Well, in Chile, we wouldn't refer to anybody as a tribesperson. They have basically what you would think of as a communist community where they elect their leaders, and they're fairly sophisticated. We do have local employees that one that never stops talking, and everybody knows that he is the contact to us for people who are asking him for jobs. They have mines to sell every day. He actually now has a second cell phone, so we can ignore that one sometimes.
Wow,
but he still does not stop talking.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Something like that. And just jumping back over to the thread, I guess I'd call it the off-ramp. So, for example, you've invested into the original token, and you've staked it for a period of time, and then at the end of that period of time, then this what did you call it? A value token? A dividend token.
The payment token.
The payment token. Then you're.
So
you receive that.
Yeah, and you'll receive it if this is the app and you stake it, it'll show you're staking it. But you also have, can you go to the first, I'm not sure if it was the first one. Go to so here you have your REE token. This will automatically show up every quarter if you've been staking.
Got it.
It'll just increase.
Yeah.
Then you can go into this and swap, exchange. I can't remember the term we have in the app, but you exchange it for more REE right now. If you want to sell the REE, you can sell the REE. If you want to stake it, have a second staking, you can restake it.
And what else can you do with it? Like when it's operational? I understand we're in the beta phase now.
So actually,
at the moment, you get the dividend token, and the only option right now is to swap buy it for more, swap it for more REE.
Yeah. So if you wanted to liquidate it, if you wanted to use it as income, then you would send it to the board. You would send it to the bulletin board and put it up for sale.
But once I've got these dividend tokens, I've got 10 of these dividend
tokens.
No,
you would swap the dividend token for REE.
Sorry. Okay, all right.
Send your 10, 20, 300 REE to the board, sell them.
So that's while the system's internal. Let's really talk about when it's fully functional.
A year from now,
it's going to be different to that.
You'll be able to just swap it within the app for USDC, or
that's
assuming they stay pegged and they don't change the laws between.
I'll give you something better. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So
what I think I understood is, let's say during this beta phase, that what you've just described will be the on-ramp and off-ramp to a REE token, and then put that on the board. But the bigger goal is that once you have that, then you'll have multiple options, whether you want to cash out, whether you want to go to USDT or something like that.
If you want to donate, that'll be an option. But if you want to cash out because you're relying on this income, you can cash out.
Got it.
But right now it's on the bulletin board because we're launching. We're not.
No, I understand.
But in a year from now, it'll be on an exchange. You can buy, sell, you can trade for Bitcoin.
Right. Okay. That was the next thing, was around time frame. Okay. Cool. Understood.
And we actually have a question online. The question is, so REE tokens will trade like crypto/shares, and REE dividends are distributed based on the share of REE tokens you own, and these dividends are pegged to USDC. The answer is yes.
The dividends are pegged to US. Well, they're going to be pegged to the US dollar through another token. Right now, it's USDC.
Okay. And then
as long as they don't lose their peg, it'll remain USDC.
Yeah. Okay.
No, once you receive the dividends, you can swap the dividends eventually. Swap exchange them for whatever is accessible. Initially REE, later other things. There's no lock. Once you're paid, they're yours.
So some platforms show your dividends on a daily basis. Anchor Protocol in the past, Nexo shows every day or every week you have earned X. You were mentioning that this comes up once every quarter.
That's because I believe, I'm not familiar with both of those, but I believe they're paying a percentage. It's a DeFi platform where if you stake X, you receive X amount in 3 months in a year, a lot like Luna did. You're receiving a percentage. Here, we're not receiving a percentage. We have to wait for the end of the quarter. We have to do the books. We have to go by our dividend guidelines, and then within 30 days, everybody gets paid. Because we don't know on January 1st what's going to March 31st or 30th, and then it's going to be paid out 30 days later. We don't know what that is.
Yeah, and if commodity prices go up or down, that affects the token. If the efficiency goes up or down, that affects the tokens. If the mining operations go up and down, that affects the tokens. So being a real world business, you can't calculate those things ahead of time. And also, by the way, these mines were purchased some of the mines were purchased with profits from Luna. What did you sell Luna at?
Mostly in the 80s.
Good man. Be like Jayson, everyone.
And like most publicly traded companies, do you have goals for every quarter?
We will. We're still in the very early stages. I've actually, in Chile, we've consolidated a lot to a mine I just bought a month ago because it's a better opportunity for us over the next 2 years while we continue to develop some of the other mines, put in roads, put in infrastructure for those mines. And like I said, a lot of this is a legal process. So we have access to a lot of mines and a lot of hundreds of hectares, but some of that we can't start working for 6 months a year and 2 years.
Can you please go back to the staking page and explain a little bit about the staking? I saw
the screen, the PowerPoint.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Our REE stake levels 30,000 plus 40%. Is that per quarter, per year?
So those aren't yields. So for each token, let's say for very easy numbers, there's 100,000 tokens. And the dividends for this quarter are $100,000. Each token has a maximum payout of $1. You're going to be paid the percentage. When you stake, it's worth 30,000, and you stake for a year, you're going to get paid 65% of that dollar. The rest of that money is used to create liquidity and manage the token price in the market.
And that percentage stays the same, but the dollar value changes depending on the profits and the costs, etc.
Correct. So that $100,000, that's just it could be 50, it could be 300. It just depends on the quarter. Sure, the goal is this is a real world enterprise with eventual goals of going public in the real markets.
And the commodity super cycle is just starting. It hasn't even started yet. But the next 5 to 10 years is what the hedge funds are aiming for as the growth cycle of commodities. So we're at the foot of a mountain that it's really going to take off within the next year and a half.
Right. So looking at the staking, and I presume the number at the top is US dollars?
Correct.
Okay. So if you put in 400 grand for 12 months, you are 100% participant in the value of the dividend.
Correct.
And
that's not your investment. If you invested $10,000 in the pre-seed,
mm-hmm.
It depends on the day you stake it. If you bought it at 38 cents, but now it's worth $10, maybe you're
right. Okay, so it's the value of the.
So you may want to stake. If you stake for a year, but you're in one of these categories, it may behoove you to unstake for a couple of days at the end of that year and restake at the higher price.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
If you were doing it quarterly, you could do it every quarter.
If you're doing it every quarter, you will only get 3% added as a bonus. If you're doing it on an annual basis, you get 25% added as a bonus. So again, there's checks and balances built in to make sure that people aren't trying to hack the system or trying to do things that.
Incentives to stake for a longer period of time.
Exactly.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. That's correct.
The value of the staking is based on the value of the token at the moment it's being staked. It's not calculated dynamically.
Correct. It's at the moment it's staked.
So at the moment I stake my token, the token is worth, say, $1. I have 10,000 of them, so I am in a 10,000 bracket.
So you're in this bracket.
Yeah. Now, 3 days later, the token is now worth
It doesn't matter.
$5. I'm still in a 10,000 bracket. If I want to move in the bracket to enjoy 40% instead of 30%, I need to unstake.
But you can't unstake.
But I can't because I'm
Correct.
staked.
Correct.
Okay.
And as a token holder, that is very good for you. Because as these are locked, there's the supply and demand. There's less available on the market. So you're a small portion of the whole token economics. You might be a little upset that you can't unstake it, but the value of your tokens is going up. Or at least isn't going down.
And you should be really happy that crypto degens can't do that. Right? That's why we sat down for months and months and months, and we got all of our degen friends and we said, attack this thing. We did penetration testing on the token itself to be like, attack it, try to hack it and destroy it, because that's all they try to do. The crypto world is this toxic world of go in and steal other people's money. We're adding no value to other people's lives. It is, it's the truth.
A ton of it is.
60% is scams. This is custom
why-
built to not allow them to destroy the company.
That's why the payment token, it would be great for the company if the payment token was tradable on an exchange, but we've made it untradable because we are backing it with cash, not an algorithm, not futures. We're backing it with cash. So that payment token is literally $1. That $1 is in the bank account waiting for you to exchange it.
When do you expect this to be on Coinbase, Binance, et cetera, et cetera?
I don't have any specific idea. A lot of those
I'll tag in.
listings are complicated and
So we're very tuned into the regulatory landscape that's happening, right? We can't say anything for sure right now, but this process we're going through where crypto has become this place where there's all these ideas but no real value behind it is being used by most cryptos, a lot of cryptos. I'll be honest, I'm the guy who's supposed to get you into crypto. Most of them are scams today. That regulators are using that as a platform to say, okay, we're going to regulate cryptos into either commodities or securities. Those regulations are still being drafted. By 2023, it looks like they're going to be officialized, but they're going to come into effect around 2024. So between 2023 to 2024, there will be regulatory clarity. I'm speaking to Coinbase regularly. I'm speaking to Kraken regularly. We have corporate relationships with them. And they've mentioned once that clarity comes in for security tokens, we'll be happy to bring security tokens on because they can say, we have tokens that are backed by actual enterprises. So if I had to answer this question just without any guarantees, I would say around the end of 2023, we'll have a defined date around when this will happen. And sometime in 2024, sometime in the middle of 2024 is the time that it would go out. And also that gives us the time to make sure that the economy of the token and the ecosystem and the stability of the process is verified, and it allows us to raise multiple rounds of capital from private investors on an institutional scale in a protected environment. So the easiest question will be somewhere around 2024.
But purely with Coinbase.
No, I mean,
no. That choice will be made at that time, also depends on which jurisdictions we're dealing with, where we'll be going. There's a lot of legal aspects to this. Now, I think your question is centered on, probably in the back of your mind, how, if I want to liquidate this, how can I liquidate this? Do I have to wait till 2024? And that answer would be no, because inside this app, which currently is the REE app, but as we add onboard more projects, it's kind of a mini exchange. You'll be able to trade for USDC, Bitcoin, ETH, and get out if you want. That's a 12 to 18 month process probably from our launch or our ITO until probably mid next month.
So as an investor, considering this as an opportunity,
Mhm.
I don't know, how would you? I know you can't give advice, but
Nothing I
how
say
would
is
you
legal advice.
view- How would you view this? I mean, in terms of, obviously investors have different needs, right?
Yeah, so-
in terms of CapEx, in terms of ROI, and of course it's socially conscious and it's a clean and green way to mine, and I want to be a part of that. So a kind of maybe a macro view of this, how to use this as a part of a diversified portfolio. How would you consider that as a part of a diversified portfolio, perhaps, is what I'm asking.
Well, it would depend on where you're at. If you're only in traditional investments,
Yes.
this is a good entry point into cryptocurrency because
Okay,
it's a
great.
hybrid. It's a very good entry point.
Great answer. Good.
That we're not. If you're looking to buy this at 38 cents and sell it for $10 in 3 weeks, you go away. This is not.
Right.
First of all, that's not going to happen. And
Yep.
and this isn't the crypto for you because we're looking for investors who are going to stake and collect dividends. That's what
Yes.
we're looking for.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my score. Like, if you obviously spend a lot of time working out what's the ideal avatar of an investor profile.
Correct.
And that was going to be the next question.
I designed this with Anthony to be something I would invest in.
Right.
Connected to the mining company that I started and I own. This project has to be successful because my project is successful. It
Clear.
can't be crashed by a bunch of degens and to where it tears everything apart because we're planning on taking the underlying company public in 4 or 5 years. So
Okay.
this is a stable crypto investment as far as the comparison to algorithmic staked coins and
yeah.
even some of the bells of the ball the last couple months of
Yeah, I understand, and why that is because we're talking about copper, and we've looked at I've looked at the pictograms and so on, which depict the demand, and I know enough about the world to know what the demand is rising. So if you do a really efficient job of removing copper from the ground consciously, it's going to go up in value. I mean, that's not rocket science.
And that's where I think that's a question that I can answer better because I help people plan these things into their portfolio, right? And
Yeah.
we've gone through this process.
Yeah, well, we have.
The way you want to think, that map that we create, which
Yes.
is the wealth map, and it
Yes.
has stocks and commodities and real estate and cash and crypto and revenue streams.
Yes.
If you're somebody who is underexposed to commodities, which almost everybody is, everybody
Yes.
thinks buying commodities is buying gold and silver and keeping it at their house.
Got it.
Those are not revenue generating assets.
Clear.
They're also not creating any impact on the world.
Mm-hmm.
They just make you feel like you're not losing your money, right? What this allows you to do is it allows you to expose yourself to crypto,
Mm-hmm.
stocks because it's a security, commodities, revenue stream because it generates revenue, and the revenue stream is kind of like being in DeFi, but without being in the DeFi that we're all now feeling the pain from. Right, so it's it's spreading out your risk across those different asset classes by taking pieces of them. You get the security of securities. That's why they're called securities. You get the growth of commodities. You get the tokenized version of crypto, and you get the regular yields of DeFi. So if you're, that's how you would position it into the space. As far as timelines, as far as how you want to think about this, you want to be a long-term investor. We don't want short-term investors. If you're here to make money, please go away. As a matter of fact, lose my number, please. Because if you're somebody who only cares about money, that's not the world that we're thinking about. You will make money. We'll make you rich. Don't worry. At some point, we'll make you rich. We got 1,000 things. That's what all we talk about is making you money, right? But we need people who have the understanding that this is the way the world is progressing. And ideally people who understand, hey, they want to create the future, not just be passengers in somebody else's built future, right? Institutionally, individually, long-term investors who understand that generating dividends over time and the slow growth of this ecosystem will benefit them and their children long-term, and they'll die in a better world. So that's our ideal avatar sitting in this seat.
Got it. Yes, I know I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
That's it. It was just one little thing you just said before. I was just curious. So the parent company of which you're the major share. You said something interesting earlier about at some period in the future, that you wanted to potentially publicly list that?
Correct. But when I started the copper company,
Yes.
before we moved REE into position,
Yeah.
our entire goal was to take the company public in a 4 to 5 year time span.
Okay.
As an IPO, probably in Toronto.
Okay. All right. Maybe we get a preferred seat at the table for that too.
You definitely will.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to identify all the opportunities and get a sense of the timeline.
Anthony says no.
To participate in a potential IPO in 5-ish years.
Actually,
so that's why I'm
This
I'm
is-
highlighting this point.
this is actually a really good point.
Yeah.
Remember, we've always promised that whoever comes in early will always get priority.
Clear.
That's why we got our people in early. If later on, when this thing is super successful and the institution's like, we just want to buy everything up, and we're issuing new tokens, guess who's going to get the call first? Our people get the call first. And if we buy up all the tokens, sorry, there's none left for you. You know, and then you can say, well, I bought it for $7. I'd love to sell it to you for 12 because you know it's going to 14. And sure, at that point you can have that relationship with them, but our people will always get priority, and that's why we're doing it like this, slow and steady.
And this bulletin board software that we're using, it's actually an off the shelf software that we're customizing somewhat for securities releases, mostly of real estate. 98% of this company's customers are real estate companies in the United States, where they're tokenizing a condo complex, or they're tokenizing. They've done mines, but it's 98%, I believe, is in the United States. So we've taken this, we kind of exported it to the Bahamas because their crypto laws are much clearer and much easier to navigate, even though we are filing with the SEC. And it's a bulletin board system for trade, but it's also a bulletin board system for announcements. So as things change, we're going to continue using the system to onboard. It helps us do KYC. On everybody, you have to all the compliance. You go through them through another third party who does that for us. Everybody in the system will see what's going on before it hits Coinbase or anywhere else.
And please, this also brings us to the next point, that this is why we can't be like, this is how much money you're going to make, or this is what we're going to do. Like, there's so many, like, if you don't know, Jason's actually
I have to
an
keep
attorney.
telling him to stop talking about
Yeah,
it.
he literally, I'm like, can I tell them the numbers? He's like, no, I'm an attorney. I'll lose my bar license that I've spent 40 years getting. Do not say that shit. Right? So I mean,
Not quite that long.
well, I mean, no, from when he was born, he was working on the thing, right? Technicalities, okay? He was in the womb like, I'm going to be an attorney when I get out of this thing. No, but that's another level of protection, right? Because normally, what do crypto tokens do? We're going to give you the world. 7,000% yields. And people go, 7,000% yields. That sounds great. What is their liability? Zero. They steal all your money and run away. What happens? Nothing. They disappear to somewhere. The SEC has a laundry list of things that we have to make sure we do correctly. That's why we speak in a very clear, concise manner, and we say the things that we do, and other things we're like, we cannot say that. That would violate regulations. And then he's personally liable. We're all personally liable in this process, right?
Yeah, when I'm saying numbers, they're all hypotheticals, and I'm trying to be very clear. None of this is legal advice. It is hope. My hope is the value goes up. We can't guarantee that. We can't guarantee that at all. I can't guarantee that, and he can't either. Yeah, and he can't either.
Hi, I'm Nick, and I have a question. I think, Sim, you had mentioned when this first started that you were looking for 300,000 for the initial round.
Yep. I mean, that closed a while ago. Right? This is the seed round now.
And this may be a highly confidential, this may be a question which you don't want to answer. How much are you looking for?
$1 billion. I mean, we don't have a cap. Yeah, we don't have a cap, right? Because the more capital that can come in, the more we can buy. But right now, we were thinking like somewhere around 10 million is where we would cap it, because too much money also becomes a problem, right? So I'll let him answer that question.
We can't invest it that fast. We've got, again, communities that you can't close overnight. It's a long, difficult process. And sometimes we help somebody become the president of a community because they can take care of their community better than the person who's putting it all in their pocket. So sometimes this takes a long time. Oh, please. Okay, well, everybody else has to ask the same number of questions.
But I think my question would be like, you know, a lot of millennials and Gen X are looking to figure out different markets that they can emerge into. And, they may not have as much disposable income as individuals maybe over like 40 that have been in a particular industry and just been able to acquire wealth. I'm interested in knowing like, how would you advise them to take advantage of these opportunities? And, I did hear what you said that before September, this is something you want to be aware of before the numbers may go up. So, like, do they go in and buy in at like the $1,000 rate, or do they partner up with some friends to get a larger bulk of money? And this is someone with very limited experience within the sector, but I think, I know that there are many individuals that would be inspired by this and really want to get involved, but the money factor is going to come into this.
Yeah, I mean, the money factor, and Sim will probably have a little bit different opinion than I do, but obviously it's by the person, because the person may be only able to afford $1,000 or $500. So in some ways, pooling isn't a bad idea. We have some of our very initial investors were a small pool in Canada that I think it's 8 or 9 people nuts that put 20 grand together, and some of those were less than $500. But they put it together. They said, okay, you're going to be our main point of contact, the guy who is kind of the leader of the group, and he is our investor. But I know he has these other people because we got ETH from several different people, and then had to figure out who it was from.
And
Perfect answer.
so right now, the minimum investment right now is $1,000. Because if you don't have $1,000, you should not be putting it here. You should go figure out how to make $2,000, and don't put that here either. Because then you should figure out how to make $10,000, and then you should put $1,000 in, and that would also depend on your individual kind of preference. But same thing as what Jayson just said. We have had people who are like, well, what if I get 10 of my friends and we all put in 1,000, we get this? We said great, and then funds reach out to us and went, what if we get all of our investors and we get this? And that's your prerogative, right? So that would come out of a wealth planning and a deeper understanding of the individual situation.
Yeah, I was personally involved in what at the time was MCO, and then became CRO, and then became Crypto.com. And when they first sent their cards out, some of us pooled our money so we could get the higher level card, the very top card. And then every 6 months we swapped for 4 people. And so we all have the top card, but we didn't have to stake the full amount for the full amount of time. So yeah, that's obviously a personal decision. It has nothing to do with company structure, but it's a good idea.
Eventually, as long as you pass KYC and you have 5,000 rupiah in your pocket, which is about 50 cents, you'll be able to invest, right? Because our goal is to slowly educate and help people understand, hey, wealth is not only for the rich countries anymore. Ketut can put some in, and Madi can put some in, and Diego can put some in. And if somebody working on the mine only has $10 a month to be able to invest, that can still turn into something, and they become owners in the process, and they feel purpose, and they feel drive around that process.
My last question is just because I've heard, like, a few friends are watching, and they like to know what is the buy-in at right now.
Sorry, say again?
A few friends are watching, and they'd like to know what is the actual buy-in of the coin right now. The price of the coin, sorry.
38.4 cents. It's 50 cents, and we're doing a discount, so it comes out to about 38.4.
Perfect. Okay.
I negotiated that discount for you guys. Just saying. I got you. All right? I'm Indian. We always like the discount. Always give me a little discount on top, bro. Come on, we're friends. Just give me a little discount on top. Come on.
And kind of backing off of your questions, you have people who are new to crypto. I get no royalties, but there's a really excellent book written in 2014 called The Age of Cryptocurrency. If you're new to cryptocurrency, I give it out in Spanish in Latin America all the time, because it really helps. It actually, I started Bitcoin mining the day I finished that book. So read it. The Age of Cryptocurrency. There's a follow-up book that starts going into Web3 and NFTs and everything. But if you're new, start with the first book because it still applies. It's a story. It's not a boring textbook. It's a very good story.
One thing I also want to highlight, which now doesn't get highlighted enough, is this arm. Okay, like some of the revenues will be profits, will be going to initiatives. So when I'm saying a waste collector, an old lady that's collecting waste and gets paid nothing for that waste, we're going to pay her through this. I'm going to go here, 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 and we're going to put money in her pocket. If there's, communities that do not have food, luckily here we're abundant, but the rest of the world is not like that. We're planting avocado trees. That's going to go from this side. And there's going to be economic models, plus somebody gets fed high quality fats, good smoothie bowls for them. If there are community initiatives that need to have work done, it's going to go through this process.
I have a question in regards to the token itself, because did you create your own blockchain, or what is it
no,
running on?
both tokens,
it
the payment
totally
token
different?
and the REE token are ERC20. The REE token is actually very basic ERC20, very uncustomized, just a little bit. It's the staking contracts that handle all of the dividend payments that are kind of complicated. The payment token is ERC20, but we've made some adjustments to make it untradeable. You wouldn't be able to open a Uniswap pool or even list it on Binance or Coinbase. It wouldn't work. And we did that on purpose, so we don't have problems with staking.
And earlier, what is the supply that it has?
The supply, do we have the supply? I don't know. Off the top of my head, this has been a long time since I worked on this. About 30% of the supply. Do we have it? Do we have it? This one. The next slide. Okay, Okay, so about 30% of this is being allocated right now. The rest of it is what we were talking about earlier. It's locked. And actually, Las and I are working on a plan as the value of the token goes up, we'll start eliminating those because we don't need as many. So over time, right now, we have 70% locked because the token's price is 50 cents. If the token's price becomes $5 or $50, we need a lot less of that extra pool. We're going to burn them. Who's Las? Las is our Norwegian. Las helps me with all the technical aspects. He's locked in. We just call him the Norwegian.
Yeah, Anthony and Las have a very love relationship, as you can see. They love hanging out with each other. So also, sorry.
Las helps me run the technology side, the development. He's also he's very well rounded in the crypto world. So he also helps us with a big swath of the cryptocurrency stuff. He's also locked in Canada due to some immigration. He can't leave, so we didn't really want him here because Anthony would not leave him alone.
Can you go back to the staking payment?
And sorry, I just want to say, this is what's going to the team, and even that's locked up for 2 years. So we can't touch our tokens for 2 years, and I'm not planning on touching it for the rest of my life. I want those sweet, juicy dividends. I told you to get out at $80.
This one? The max supply is
750 million.
750 million. We're releasing 30% of those, and the other 70 only as I don't remember if you were here when we talked about it earlier. Only if it adds value to the company by either buying more mines, buying more equipment, buying another company in the process.
Yeah, all this is locked up. And this will only be issued when mines or there's actual value to be added into the token. Only this is actually being issued. Even out of that, this is locked up. So only this is actually going to be available.
No, that's not. This is locked up. This one is the dividends.
That's
tokens.
locked up too.
These
yeah.
are actually untradeable. They're producing dividends for the company that is administering this to pay us to cover overhead. Anything extra goes into buying back tokens.
And even out of all of these, we've probably spent less than this line's worth of tokens, like a pixel's worth of tokens. We operate very efficiently.
And a lot of these aren't going to be
prices.
issued. Some, I think 2% is for advisors. We've got about 15% of that allocated. There's another 5 that'll probably be allocated, but the rest won't be out. They're just going to go away. But they're there if I need them in order to get to launch.
So I have a question. Can you go back to the staking page, please? Looking at the dollar amounts, 1,000, 10, 30, 100, 400. If somebody were to come in with 75,000, for example, would they be at the 40% or would they be somewhere in between the 40 and the 55?
No, they would be right in the lower. So you're going to average down each time.
Yeah,
Correct. So if you had 75, you shouldn't stake it all in one staking. You should do it in 2.
Because you can stake in different tranches, right? So you can actually stake 30 and then some more, and then when one goes up, you can unstake one and restake
You could do
one.
30, 30, and 10. So you're going to get benefit off of more staking.
And we'll have classes around this of how to. So if you stake 30, because otherwise 70, you're just getting 40, right?
Well, you're going
Or
to
75.
get 40 anyways.
Yeah.
It would be the length of time that would determine the extra. Yeah. But then
Because if you had 30, you'd be getting 40%. If you put 30, 30, and 10, you'd be getting 60%.
Yeah, but think about it like this, right? Like, let's say you have 75
Yeah.
and the token's at 38 cents. And you know, hey, I know some news, maybe. I don't,
Rumors.
maybe you somehow, I don't know, you go to the mine or something. We will never say anything. We will never say anything to make any news around any of this stuff, SEC. So maybe you know that the token's going to go up later on, and you don't want to stake for a year because you might be able to restake at a higher valuation. Then you would stake one tranche, stake another tranche, still get, the 40% for both, 30 and 40, or 30 and 45, or 35 and 35. But then you could stake one for a shorter period of time, one for a longer period of time. Later on, when the token price goes up, you could unstake one, go into the 100, and then restake it for a year, something like that. So there's strategy around increasing the yields. And again, we'll be doing education sessions and giving you the details of how to optimize the yield that you're getting out of the token.
One for the team. So we're talking right now, this moment, we're talking short term and potentially medium term. So the REE, by its very name, is real earth elements. So we're talking about extracting, a finite, commodity, over whatever time frame. So I'm just curious, and you've identified some opportunities within nickel and copper and so on, is what's the, one of the things that working with Sim is, he told me is this short, medium and long term. So I plan to be around for a long time. So I'm just curious, what's your long-term vision? What's your medium and long-term vision in terms of REE and that aspect?
So that's kind of a 2-part question, because there's a mining long-term vision and then there's the tokenization long-term vision. The mining long-term vision, we've got people out today exploring. We've got people out today looking for land that we probably won't mine for 3 or 4 years, because you're not investing in a mine, you're investing in a business. Now, there's a point where, okay, we've got enough. Now we got to keep, we've got enough copper for the next 10 years. And we're securing land that isn't costing us a lot, that has lower grade than what we want to sell right now, than the buyers want to buy, because we know in 10 years that lower grade is going to be very popular. In fact, we sold several loads the last 2 weeks from that new mine that was sitting on the ground from 10 years ago because it wasn't sellable 10 years ago. Now they're very interested in it because the percentage of copper was too low for 10 years ago. They didn't want it.
And so actually, this is a really good point that Ian Roper brought up, one of our analysts in the video, that up until recently, there were mountains you could blow up and take all the copper. That's why the big people did that. And for them to put down $1 billion operation to make it happen, they literally cannot scale. They can't scale down. They can only scale up. Now those mountains are running out. Those mountains have been prospected. But there is a lot of small scale supply that can be accessed with this surgical precision method that's not profitable for them. So that's why when people ask, well, aren't you going after the Rio Tintos? No, we're not playing the Rio Tinto game. And by the time we get to the level of Rio Tinto, we'll have our own way.
In Chile, they're gone. They're not gone, but they're either owned or they're a whole now. It's over. But a lot. So there are mountains that are going to be worked for the next 20, 30 years, but they're already being worked. In copper, iron's a different story. There are iron mountains across I don't know what channel here, but the copper, there's no more mountains to take down. We're going after veins. And when we say we're doing it in a green way, part of that is because technology now lets us go after the veins. There's new machinery where a driver sits sideways and can go frontwards and backwards, so we can just follow the vein. And when we're done, what was that?
Yeah, I think Sim's terminology around surgically, I understand surgically understanding it wasn't viable, at price point X. I mean, the shale oil was a classic example of that, when it reached the unit price.
And actually, they do it with giant machinery to remove people. We need people to surgically take stuff out. So we involve more people in the process.
That picture was never supposed to be released.
It is now. I'm posting it everywhere.
This is actually a bucket used where donkeys would pull up the ore and
don't
bucket at a
Don't
time.
call yourself a donkey, bro. Come on now. That's mean. Don't talk about my friend like that.
So we found a bunch of them down in a pit in a mine that were working. The green. So there's two kinds of copper that are mined. One is oxidized copper, which means it's been exposed to oxygen. The copper on the surface has mostly been exposed to oxygen depends on the thickness of the rock. It can be 20 meters, it can be more, it can be less. And below that is the sulfides that haven't been exposed to oxygen. And both of those are processed in a very different way. So you have to separate them. So when I was telling you the other day, we have two buyers. One buyer is buying the oxidose, the green-blue rocks.
Clear.
One is buying the sulfides, which actually smell like sulfur. You can smell
Yeah,
them.
understand copper sulfate.
So this is not my mine, but it is a picture of a mine I looked at. I don't know what that one is. Is it? I don't think so. I look at
This is what happens when you have too many mines. It's like, is it mine?
I own so many mines.
Oh, is that the new mine?
Yeah, but nothing is mine.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I know which one that
Nothing
is.
is mine.
So that mine was actually, we haven't dynamited there. It was explored by one of the government companies. There's two. Codelco is the big company everybody's heard of. There's a smaller company that buys minerals and explores land and runs their own mines. They rent them out to private industry. They explored right there years ago. The law or the percentage was too low. They left it. It's not too low anymore. With the what? Yeah, in northern Chile, they make a lot of meat out of them.
Satay.
Yeah, that's all copper exposed to oxygen. I'm thinking in Spanish, oxidos. So exposed right there, you dynamite it, or you use a hammer on a big excavator, and then you sort it and sell the copper. Once you've created a base, if there's a vein, you just follow the vein into the mountain.
This is how you dig it, right?
Yeah, and this is like, when I say surgical, I'm not kidding. It's literally surgical. You're following a vein, you're putting a hole in, you're digging the stuff out, and you're leaving everything else undisturbed.
So no, it's not water. It's a bar they're drilling a hole using a very large compressor to then insert the dynamite. And they'll do somewhere between 6 and 9, light them all at the same time, then go in and remove it. In the tunnel, they do the same thing. They just do it in a straight line, straight curvy line following the vein, and then dynamite, send the machine in, do it again. Yeah, because the rest isn't copper, so you have to you don't want to truck it anywhere. You don't want to sell it, so you're just piling it up. So
And that's
we leave it in the mountain.
That's also why this process is 150 times, not 150 times, I wish, 150% more efficient than their process. So it's literally is better for the environment. It makes you more money. More people are involved in it. It's much more doable on the scale that is happening on right now. So there's just benefits to it. It's just those big companies can't change their entire business model to do this stuff. We're building that business model. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, Chile is a little difficult.
This northern Chile, it's very desert, and they've had a drought for so long that you're lucky to. The avocado trees grow about to my waist, where in California they're twice my height. Yeah. So I mean, they do grow a lot of avocados, but the ground's not conducive. Yeah, that's actually the ocean. Right, this is La Serena, Chile. That's a mountain. That's the ocean right there in those clouds.
Doing again, this hasn't been approved yet, but I keep saying it. We're thinking about doing some kind of like investor giveaway that if you invest enough, that will fly you out, and you'll get to press the button to do the again. No, I don't know if there's
There's no but.
Just hold on. Let me just. Yeah.
We'll get one from Target.
Yeah. Let me live my dream, okay? We're gonna go out there, we're gonna push the thing and blow it up, and then we'll do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you know the thing goes shh, right? Yeah, exactly. And you'll run off the cliff. Yeah, absolutely. You just got to invest $1 million. We'll happily take you over there, no problem. Come on over. There you go. I knew Nick was going to be in this. Yeah, but okay. We got 5 minutes left, ladies and gentlemen. These are great questions. Please, if you have more questions, feel free to shoot them right now, or we have a community that you can join on Telegram. You can follow this live. Every time something happens, it's there. If you have more questions, feel free to send them our way. If you have friends who have questions, please, we're happy to answer all the questions anytime.
You please, in your main group, can you please repost the link to the Telegram group
Yes.
for REE?
Yeah,
Thank you.
we can do that.
Anything else? Any other questions? I have no idea.
Yes. Is there any document that lists the list of properties and their like reserves, exploration results?
No, in fact, in this form of mining where we follow the veins, what you're talking about is created when somebody wants to tear down a mountain, and they perforate in several locations, and then based on math, you calculate what your reserves are. Here we're following veins. We don't know when they're going to end, but we have lots of them. So, and we have hundreds of hectares. So someday those veins will end, and sometimes they just go deeper in the ground, and we just follow them.
And those business models, they spend millions of dollars just digging holes first to get to the point that they actually mine. We go find mines that were already profitable that went bankrupt. So somebody else has already done a lot of this work, so we just get to leverage their existing stuff, you know. Or that's our aim. I don't
They
want to
went
guarantee
bankrupt.
that. Yeah.
This one of those mines, if you go, the one with the dump truck, and the 3 pictures before it, those mine that mine was owned by an 82-year-old man. That one. So this load, this is where we're picking up the stuff that was left 10 years ago, because he hasn't mined it for years and he's retired. So my guy that talks a lot, he used to work for him. So we made a deal and we paid him cash, and he, instead of renting it. Yeah, we're actually mining it, but in the meantime, they're not tailings, because tailings are the after product of processing. We're just taking the rocks they left on the ground, because 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they didn't have value. And now they do. And then So this truck belongs to one of my buyers. They send the trucks out, we load it. That excavator is my excavator. We run that every day. We've got several smaller trucks. And then we also lease trucks to send to the government agency because it's further away.
How many mines are you operating?
We've moved all operations to this one mine this one property because it has 6 open mines. So we're now we're paid in certain amount of tonnage. So we're selling tonnage from each of the areas to see which has the highest percentage, and then we'll focus on that and keep moving around.
And so the answer is 6 mines?
Yeah, six just on this mine.
Yeah, Jason's a lawyer, so when you ask him questions, he will go into the fine details.
Sorry.
He'll be like, "We are just."
And this mine, I'm in the process right now of registering the property below it because nobody's worked it for so long, nobody even knows who owns it. And the property above it happens to be owned by one of the companies that went bankrupt.
No, can we get the mic, please?
Can you tell us what has been done with the funds that have been originally raised and what you plan to do with the additional funds that are going to be raised? Are you buying more equipment? Are you buying more mines? Are you doing both? What are you doing?
So the initial pre-seed round, the one that some of you invested in, that money was set aside specifically for REE, for software development, for the legal process, for registering, for everything we've done here, for the expo last week or 2 weeks ago. The second tranche, some of it we're keeping as a reserve because we want to make sure we don't run into any problems with the technology. We've got to do a lot of auditing. That's fairly expensive with the blockchain auditing, contract auditing. But this cat was purchased with that money.
Yeah, we're sharing this constantly in the group. We're all like cheering, like, the money is buying cats. I mean, this cat, big cats. That's okay. Keep going.
In one of the earlier presentations, either one of you, you had said that there was, I believe before the end of the year, there was a plan to do a dividend. Is that still the case?
It doesn't look like it. We're right on the cusp because there is a requirement to stake for 45 days before the dividends, and we're looking at mid-November. It's probably going to be unlikely. The first one will definitely be the first quarter.
First quarter
Yeah.
next year. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
No, we're not. There's really nothing. It's all until we bought this cat. It's all been my money initially. So there's nothing really to show. There's also I've got some very aggressive competitors down there. I have to be very careful. You were asking about the locations. I'm very careful because I'm taking land from a company they're also taking land from. So not a bankrupt company. So, but we're all in competition to.
But could you say if it's profitable or in loss?
So right now, this month we'll probably sell somewhere around. I'm trying two. Yeah, it's profitable.
Yeah, always answer the question, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but lawyer.
I can give you a 30-minute answer.
Yeah, exactly. Lawyers never answer the question. They will give you all the details, But yes, it's
I
profitable.
spent a lot of time being educated on how to say it depends.
Yeah, exactly.
This month we'll probably sell about, and then you trail off.
So in Oxidos, we'll probably sell around 1,500 tons. In sulfurs to the state, it depends. The sulfurs are more difficult; they're deeper. So it depends on the percentage.
It depends.
It depends. I can show you a chart. Every 3 loads is about $5,000, give or take. It's in Chilean pesos.
How much is in a load? Man, so many questions.
33 tons.
Okay.
So 100 tons, 3
Yeah.
trucks. Yeah.
4,500, $5,000.
And that's also where, once we put a processing plant on site, that price goes up 50 times.
Maybe not 50, but it goes up substantially.
Well, it goes, well, there's a cost.
50x.
There's a CapEx. You got to buy the plant, ... But it goes significantly up.
Somewhere, some X's.
Selling net product rather than gross product.
Correct. Correct. The selling price of oxidose is about, I'd have to look because the prices have gone down significantly the last couple of months, but somewhere it's maybe $5,000-$6,000 a ton of concentrate. Where this is much less a ton because it's raw ore. It's 80-90% dirt.
And how much does the processing plant cost? And when do you plan on
Nothing. Oh, to build one? Depends on the size. We can't build the one that we need in Chile. We have to stage it by government regulation. We have to stage it. We're starting out at 1,000 tons a month.
It depends, Jason.
No, he's the lawyer.
Sorry, can I just loop back to something just a bit before? So in the absence of being able to give a dividend at the end of the year, you are going to release some figures, I think you said.
Yes.
Correct.
And then,
Not publicly.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. No,
Private.
within
Private.
obviously the pre-seed
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
And then the intention is in the first quarter next year to be able to
Yeah,
issue some sort of...
when we pay dividends, most likely the first quarter next
Yeah,
year.
that's what I meant.
Between the end of March and the end of April, we will release the numbers
Publicly.
Got it.
publicly.
Got it.
And
Okay,
then-
that's my question.
And then come the end of April, the dividend payment will be processed by the blockchain contracts.
All right, and you don't expect that to happen or any other information before that time? Like in the absence of actually a dividend this year? Or?
Perhaps privately, but we're not paying a percentage. We're paying based on the quarter's success.
No, I understand that. Yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah.
So
In that time, we're bringing the Philippines online. It depends on how. There's so many. It depends in that statement. Whether it's done by the end of the quarter, how much money we raise in the meantime.
I just wanted. It's one of those classic ones that we talk about is under promise and over deliver. So it's just was the.
I'm not promising.
Was there? Yeah. No, I know you're not. No, I get that.
Now that's also why we've been very careful about managing expectations, right? Because people come into the crypto space and they want a Lambo yesterday.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's not us.
Yeah.
That's why I asked for the dividend. It's the last thing I saw was it. The dividend.
Yeah, exactly. So so what we're also building in parallel to this is a transparency kind of workflow to make sure that there's a automated transfer of information from the front lines up to our investors and some transfer of investor kind of feedback up to the core team so that they can keep in mind that the investor community feels a certain way. It doesn't give us right to governance, but our community is everything, right? When you think about a token, the community is everything. So the community will speak back, but they will have transparency around all this stuff. Again, once our overlords allow us to release this in a public way.
Releasing 30%, which comes to like 8 times more than that.
So we're
Sorry,
right.
that number's not set in stone. Yeah.
So right now we're selling 7%, but we're not selling it all at 38.5 cents or 38.4 cents. That's the pre-seed number. What happens after that? It depends. So
Sorry?
yes,
We're
for
still in the
another
pre-seed,
month.
but only 7% of the total 750 million tokens are actually being sold in all of the rounds, right? No, 30% is being issued at the beginning, but we got advisors and we have
We have
right?
5% that's locked up permanently.
5% locked up.
So that's 25. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why sometimes these
it is
numbers-
complicated because Los and I have built in a lot of things to ensure nobody screws with us in a Luna sort of way 6 months down the road.
You're speaking to the right guy.
I'm aware.
So since you're building this on more green, that you want to work greener in a way, are there people that are working at the mines? Will they have like a higher salary, or is there a difference to the mining conditions for before?
So the workers at the mine really this is the only worker. That's not a worker. This is the 82-year-old that sold me a mine.
No,
Yes.
the next one, solar.
This one is for the
Those are solar panels.
We're running
the
it on
camp
solar.
we run the electricity at the camp on solar. They do cook on propane because it would use all the electricity. But the biggest difference in working for me and most of the other local companies is the conditions. We feed a lot better. These gentlemen live at the mine during the week. They go home on the weekends. Generally, they're single people and don't have families, but they're paid about the same, maybe 10, 15% more, but we feed them very well, provide them solar panel. A lot of the mines don't have electricity. They have dirt floors. We have a camp with wood floors and a kitchen and
So
easy to get.
it's very easy. Yeah, like I said, my talker is constantly, workers are looking for work.
And the thing is, this new paradigm is not about ownership, but it's about relationship, right? The same way that we do it, where we make sure that there's relationships built, that's what's being done on the ground as well, that the people know that they're being taken care of. Obviously, we can't just pay them extra out of our own pockets for no reason. We don't believe in giving fish. We teach you how to fish. But there is the relationship building part of it goes right from the very ground all the way up to the investors. And eventually we want to turn that. That's what this community building is that we're going to, we're building relationships all the way through people. And eventually we'll all sit and eat together.
So if you would like, on a scale between what people that are mining in Australia earn and people that are mining, let's say
I have no idea what
Africa.
people in Australia earn.
Well, there's definitely like they
It's
have
nothing
a higher
like that.
salary.
Yeah.
So what's the in between? Like, what's the working conditions? Like what on a scale from 0 to 200?
In comparison to other markets, I can't tell you. I don't know. I know only the markets I'm working in, which in the Philippines. So what I'm aiming for my employees is more food, better food, and better living conditions. They're paid about the same because honestly, they pretty much live at the mine. They go home one night a week, and usually they go to their father's house because these guys don't have their own home. They're going to their father's house, seeing their girlfriends, coming back to work, and they all live together in a big camp that we built. Here's the wood. I have mine workers. We have 7 or 8. The managers, we have 2 managers, geologists, a couple engineers on contract.
But what we are giving them is the ability to generate their own wealth. All right, we'll give you more money. Learn to make more money. We'll teach you how to make more money. We'll put it on your phone with a clickable button, but that's as far as we can take you. The rest of it is you understanding the process that just earning money is not the only way to make money. Entering the new paradigm of investing is the way that we want to help you make money, which nobody else is doing.
So let's say, will they be able to afford a phone so that they can make money?
Oh, they all have phones. They all have phones.
Great.
Quality of life that they can look up to, and then you're supporting them in different ways. And if they want to get into investing, like you said, for 10.
Correct. Now, the same thing exists throughout the world. Some people have a second-grade education. Educating them in the investment world is very difficult. It's more of we're creating an opportunity for them to teach their children how to do this, because
we provide them with the necessary clothing and
we provide all the safety gear, all the clothing other than their own underwear and T-shirt. It's required by the government. Everybody has to have. I have to wear steel toe boots when I go to the mine. Can't wear these. Can't wear these. Yeah.
So we are going to hold these regularly. Jason's not going to be here, but we are going to hold them digitally. You will always have a window open. We'll create spaces to make sure that you have questions, or if you have friends who have questions, we'll make sure that you always have the opportunity to do this. Thank you for flying 25 hours to come out here and
it was much more than that.
and do this. 36 hours.